This is about my mother, yes. The year is 1895, 96, something like that. This was a time of my mother and her parents lived in Brooklyn, and it was a time when if you had company over, the last event of the evening was always when the people who were visiting made a great show of giving a coin to all of the children of the hostess, and she in turn would give a coin to buy a sweet to all of the children that had come. This particular day, my Aunt Bess, my mother, and Uncle Willie were there, and they each got a penny. It was early enough in the evening that they decided to go down to the candy store and buy a special treat for the night. On the way down, my mother suggested rather than each of us going in and buying our own, why don't we buy something, why don't we each buy something that we can share, and that way we'll have 3 times as much joy and fun. And they agreed that that was a good thing. My mother relates how going into the candy store, she looked around for something that was 3 for a penny and picked the largest 3 of those. And meanwhile, my Aunt Bess had gotten a candy bar, and Uncle Willie had spent his penny. So they came out, and my mother was the first one to share hers because she had the 3 things, and they all enjoyed what she had chosen. And then they all had a chew, a part of the candy bar. And at that point, they turned to Uncle Willie and said, "What did you get?" And Uncle Willie reached in his pocket and picked out a holy picture, a picture of the Virgin Mary. My mother and Aunt Bess were aghast. They had lost part of their candy, and now they got a glimpse of the the Virgin Mother. They got home, and my mother was aghast, yelling at her mother. And you know what he did? He bought a holy picture. He bought a holy picture.
I admit that's a good story. Some of the stories that I like best, though, are the small ones where there wasn't so much of a punchline, but there was more of a feeling of a nostalgia in the time. One of the things that I think about when I travel is the story about you traveling on the buses. Was it when you were in the Army, but you would take everybody's bags down?
When I was in the Navy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why were you on these buses?
We were stationed in Boston, and every other weekend, we had weekend liberty, and that meant that I could hitchhike down to New York, and usually one of my mates would go along with me, and we would hitchhike to New York, and we would have dinner in White Plains with my parents, and then we would go to New York and either see a play or a hockey game or something of that sort. And then on Sunday, we would also go back to New York and do good things and maybe go to the State Shore Canteen or other things of that nature. Back to White Plains for dinner, and then there was a bus that left White Plains at about 11:30 at night and got into Boston and actually in front of the Navy Yard at 6:30, and our Liberty was up at 7 o'clock, and so we always managed to get on that bus. This one particular time, I was alone. I got on the bus, and all the seats were taken. And I didn't particularly relish the idea of standing all the way to Boston. And I looked up and I saw that in the luggage racks there were a number of things that were up there, but there was also enough space that, hey, if I got rid of a couple of those, I could climb up into the luggage rack and take a nap, actually go to sleep. So I went over to the luggage rack and I grabbed something out and I said, "Whose is this?" And somebody said, "Mine," and I threw it in their lap. And I did that for 3 items, and by then I had enough room up there, and I climbed up into the luggage rack and slept.
Arch and Judy were over here this week, and you